For instance, we had a guy who we treated, and he, had just sold a company for hundreds of millions of dollars, should have been living his best life, and he had an anxiety attack every day for like 2 years straight. And he couldn't figure out what was going on with him. During his second treatment, he went into a disassociated state, and he went back to when he was 7 years old, and he got bit by a dog. And then after he got bit by the dog, his dad spanked him. The dad was probably freaking out, trying to get him to stop crying or something like that. But the thing is that he came out of that experience and he's like, it's so weird. He goes, I don't even really remember it happening. It's it's barely even a memory that I have. And he goes, but it must have really been bothering me all of these years. And then after that treatment, he stopped having anxiety attacks.
No kidding. All right, folks, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome aboard the Max Afterburner podcast, sponsored, powered, brought to you by the No Fallen Heroes universe, our foundation, our LLC, our film project, you name it. No Fallen Heroes is expanding across all sorts of verticals to put the ladder down to help save and change the lives of our heroes, our veterans, our first responders, and their family members. Before we get into my, meet my in-studio guests, I want to cover a pretty cool development that happened this week. Wednesday or Thursday, there is a court case. The Church of the Eagle and Crow actually won, or I guess they settled with the DEA, the Department of Homeland Security, all sorts of other government agencies. Why? Because this church uses ayahuasca in ceremonies for religious purposes. And I guess Uncle Sammy didn't like that, right? So this church actually had to go to court and battle it out to fight for the right to practice their religion. I'm a history guy. I seem to remember that some dudes maybe started a war to start this country over religious freedom, right? First of all, they were a little pissed off about taxes, but they were also a little upset that they couldn't practice their faith as they saw fit. So congratulations to the Church of the Eagle and the Condor. And it's still kind of torques me off a little bit because they had to get like a Schedule I license from the DEA. I don't get it, man. That nowhere in the, I guess I have a really old copy of the Constitution. Nowhere in the copy of my Constitution does it say the DEA is the arbiter of what a religion is. You should be able to practice your faith, your religion, whatever you call it, how you see fit. Now I get it, man. Somebody starts a religion like, hey, we're doing human sacrifices or something like that, but they weren't harming anybody else. They're using these medicines as a sacrament. So I get that there's some sort of line somewhere, but it definitely ain't, what is currently existing. For those of you who know my story, man, I lost my faith in God, because of my sister, some childhood sexual trauma, just a shitload of military trauma, and just did not believe in God anymore. And as a result of what happened to me, could not be more spiritual. Not religious, could not be more spiritual. So good on the Church of the Eagle and Condor, man, and good on them. So, all right, my brother, welcome to our in-studio, man. I'm really fired up. This is all brand new. And thanks for making the trek over. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Charles Patti. He drove all the way over from the left coast of Florida, my brother, and thanks for coming. I appreciate it.
Thanks very much for having me. I appreciate you.
So my self-wellness. So Charles and I met down in Microdose. You and I have been following each other for years on social media and stuff, and just noticing each other's efforts. And we finally got to meet down in Miami, and then out in Malibu. Yeah, the hills of Malibu, right?
Yeah.
You, me, Dr. J, Zappy, and just another great group. And you and your bride were facilitating this ketamine retreat. And just to get people back up to speed, I'll fully admit it. I was a medicine snob, man. I was a 12 to 14 hour ass kicking on Ibogaine And I'm like, 30, 45 minute ketamine experience. I'm like, come on, man, that's ridiculous. But it was pretty cool. So we're going to dig into all that stuff. But tell us about your background, past decade or so. How did you go from where you were to sitting on a podcast couch talking about ketamine?
Yeah, for sure. Well, so my history and what got me passionate about this industry and these medicines is that I lost my father when I was young, and it ended up leading me to have a lot of depression and anxiety. Yeah. And I ended up starting to self-medicate at a very young age with alcohol and other outside substances. Yep. I had been diagnosed as being, having clinical depression and anxiety, PTSD. I was diagnosed as being bipolar and having OCD, pretty much like the whole gambit of anything you could throw at the wall. Yeah. And basically, it led me to a lifetime of having substance abuse issues. And I was just trying to self-medicate underlying issues. Yeah. But it was some deep dive, profound breakthrough experiences that I had on psychedelic medicines, which really changed the game for me. Okay. And so, it's, the thing I love about psychedelics is it gets away from the pharmaceutical paradigm of actually let's treat the symptoms. Correct. And it actually gets to the root issue and the root cause of why people are self-medicating to begin with. Exactly. So I was in another industry working for an international PR company and selling ad space for a few different publications. And I was with Christina at the time, and our son was about 6 months old. And I went to Mexico for a trade show, and I was out at a dinner with a bunch of industry professionals, and all I could do was talk about DMT and psilocybin and MDMA. Yeah. And everybody just thought that I was talking about drugs. Sure. And so I came back from the trade show and I sat down with Christina and I said, listen, if I went through 20 years worth of misery and I don't use what helped me to help other people, it was a waste of 20 years of my life. Amen. And so it was actually crazy enough, a breakthrough experience that I had on DMT where we'll just call it some divine guidance that I received. And basically I got the message that I was supposed to quit my jobs and take a leap of faith. And that we were supposed to start a wellness center where, hopefully we could get into psychedelic therapy, meaning ketamine, because that's the only FDA-approved medication that we have access to right now. And so after that experience, sitting down with Christina and saying, hey, so listen, I just got this message that I'm supposed to quit my jobs when our son's 6 months old and take a leap of faith to start this company. Will you do it with me? As reluctant as she was and scared, she was like, all right, I support you. And so I quit my jobs. We took the leap of faith. And that was about a little over 4 years ago. Okay. And now we have done about 10,000 ketamine treatments from our facility. Whoa. And we have an astronomically high success rate of getting people off their pharmaceutical medications, getting people off drugs and alcohol, and doing a lot of really good work with our veterans and first responders community. That's great. Yeah. So again, the ketamine experience to me, let's break it down a little bit more for folks because there's different delivery mechanisms. How does your clinic operate? Do you pick the mechanism? Does the client talk us through the tactics? Because after I debriefed my ketamine experience, the inbox started exploding and stuff like that. And I just want to be able to give some better intel to people. Okay, so I'll just kind of start off with what ketamine is real quick. Yeah. Okay, and so the reason that ketamine is FDA approved is because it's actually a dissociative anesthetic. It's not classified as a hallucinogen, which is under the Schedule 1 compounds that we were talking about. It was a child anesthetic back in the day, right? 60s, 70s, yeah. It's the number one choice for pediatric sedation. Correct. So ketamine was actually FDA approved in 1970 as an anesthetic. And it is one of, if not the safest, least toxic anesthetics on the market. A lot of people will be like, hey, isn't ketamine a horse tranquilizer? And the safety profile for ketamine is so amazing that they do use it on animals. It's on the back of every ambulance. If somebody's being combative out in the streets or something, they'll use it to sedate that person. Stabilize. Yeah. And the way that we do it is we do it in sub-anesthetic doses, meaning we're giving people a fraction of what you would give somebody going to surgery. Okay. Now, there's a few different ways or methods of administering the medicine. You have IV ketamine therapy, which is really typically what most clinics offer. Okay. You do have troches or oral doses of the medicine. which the bioavailability really isn't as good with that. And then you have intramuscular shots of the medicine. And the truth is that an intramuscular shot of ketamine at a psychedelic dose is basically like an hour-long DMT trip or ayahuasca session where people are having these psycho-spiritual experiences, going back and revisiting past traumatic experiences that they've been through and watching them play out from a third-party perspective where there's no feelings or emotions attached to it, so they can process it, release it, and let it go. A lot of times people say they speak with deceased relatives during their treatments. Listen, we are not a religious facility, nor am I a religious person. I'm very spiritual like you, but we have people coming out of their treatment saying that they were sitting with Jesus and angels and things to that effect. So an intramuscular shot of ketamine, in my personal opinion, is one of the most therapeutic, profound healing experiences that a human being can have.
Wow. Okay. Talk us through the actual, was it Harvard, Yale? What's the protocol? What's the accepted flight schedule?
So basically there's an accumulative effect of ketamine, meaning that there's a lot of neurological healing that's happening. Whenever we've had any kind of traumatic experiences in our life or just through the course of life, our neural pathways get damaged in our brain. Yeah. And when the neurons are trying to flow through these pathways, they start to bounce off the walls, which can cause a lot of the symptoms of depression, anxiety, PTSD. The ketamine is going in and physiologically remapping and restructuring these neural pathways. It's also going in and turning on the receptors in our brain that create our dopamine, which is our feel-good chemical. It's what motivates us to get out of bed in the morning. The accumulative effect of the medicine means this neurological healing that's happening happens for the hour you're in your session and for a window of time after that. The golden like the gold standard or the Yale protocol would be like 6 treatment protocol. It's either 2 times a week over a 3-week period. Or what we do at our facility for our professionals that can't make it in 2 times a week, we can do 1 treatment a week over a 6-week period, and we still see phenomenal results with that protocol.
Do you guys, do you tie in or do you recommend psychotherapy, talk therapy at all, or is it just like, hey, here's your ketamine and that was an experience and we'll see you next time?
No, it's not that. And if somebody's offering you that kind of treatment, don't go there because it's not just about the ketamine. Okay?
Correct.
The ketamine is just one puzzle piece in the equation. We have an amazing medical director who's our head psychiatrist, Dr. Andrew Ferber. Dr. Ferber's been a psychiatrist for over 60 years, but a meditator for over 50 years. He was friends with Ram Dass and Timothy Leary.
Oh, wow.
He lived with Osho for about 20 years.
No kidding.
Yeah. So the thing is that like you want to meet with somebody that, with a psychiatrist to be approved for this and make sure that they have a mental health background, of course, which a psychiatrist would. It's all about teaching people about healthy lifestyle practices too. We teach people about meditation, breath work, eating healthier, all of these
yoga, yoga.
You got it. And anything like that we're going to replace the old unhealthy habits with, because ketamine also causes new neuroplasticity in the brain. Think of our brain like the side of a mountain that has a layer of snow that's gone down it. And the tracks that are embedded by somebody skiing down this mountain, which would basically be like our thought patterns, our lifestyle practices. New neuroplasticity is like a new layer of snow going down, and it gives us the ability to reprogram ourselves with these healthy lifestyle practices. I tell people, I look at us like a biological computer sometimes, and we have the ability to be reprogrammed.
Correct.
But so like what we do is, you get 2 meetings with Dr. Ferber, 6 ketamine treatments, and then integration through the process of the treatments with our team. One of our nurses, Jessica, has actually been certified through Being True to You, which is one of the best psychedelic integration coaching companies in the country. I'm having
Deanne on a podcast coming up. I love her.
I was just going to say, shout out to Deanne. She's amazing. Deanne Adamson. She's doing great work for the world. And so integration is an integral part of this healing journey as well. If you just give somebody the medicine and they have these profound experiences but don't process them, you can actually leave people in a worse state than they were to begin with sometimes.
Absolutely.
And I know that from a personal experience because a lot of my healing didn't happen in a facility like ours because I didn't have access to something like that.
Correct.
So I had some incredibly profound healing experiences about a decade ago, which left me feeling pretty lost at times. And I literally had to watch The Spirit Molecule by Dr. Rick Strassman over and over again to try to process my actual experiences and make sense of them.
I'm glad. Well, you're here, which is a great thing. And you got lessons learned to apply. And you're putting the ladder down to make sure folks don't do what I did type of thing. It's interesting. You've probably seen this in your experience, too, since you're in the and we can get into a debate if ketamine's a psychedelic or not, all that type of stuff. But in your experience, when somebody's like, oh, I tried mushrooms and they had a bad this or bad that, 99.9% of the time I can go, let me guess. You did it in a non-therapeutic setting. You didn't have your intent. You can already pre-answer why they most likely had a bad experience. Because to your point, if you do these things and you don't integrate and have somebody help you unpack, it was just an experience. Or to your point, it could do more damage than actually good. So I'm glad you all do that. Let's talk ketamine. 6 months ago, unfortunately, or whenever it was, Matthew Perry. Ketamine got a little spike in the news along with negative stuff. Kind of like my phone started ringing off the hook, I think like 2 months before the Matthew Perry thing, whatever it was. Airline jump seating pilot tries to shut off the fuel in the engines because he took mushrooms. I'm like, okay, folks, let's start unpacking all this stuff. First of all, unless the guy took the mushrooms getting on the airplane, 2 days ago, and his attorney even said like, no, he was just, grasping at straws and stuff like that. But anybody who contacted me and said, see, look, these things are dangerous or whatever. I'm like, if anything, that shows shows you that you shouldn't be doing this as he directed it. Setting, I am not for any of this stuff for fun. This is for serious work. Same thing with ketamine and Matthew Perry. Apparently that guy had, 10 times the normal dose. Dr. J. Jonathan Fields, he's like, he could have performed open heart surgery on himself and would have never felt it. So let's talk about ketamine kind of, quote, recreationally. What's your take on that?
So listen, I am not an advocate for using these compounds recreationally outside of a, clinical setting. Like I said, a lot of my healing didn't happen in clinics like this, but there was a lot of times where I kind of got out of a situation by the skin of my teeth. The thing is that like you were talking about, with these bad trips or these negative experiences that people have, it usually happens because people don't feel safe. Oh my gosh, I don't feel safe. I'm in danger. I'm scared. Now I'm going in this loop or this rabbit hole where I'm in this really negative experience.
Correct.
Matthew Perry, our PR company hit me up right when it happened, and they're like, "This is really bad. This is really bad." And all of the headlines read, "Ketamine kills Matthew Perry," basically. And the thing is that then more things were coming to light. They were like, "Oh, well, Matthew Perry was doing ketamine therapy, and he hadn't done a treatment. I think it was for 6 weeks before this incident. When they found him and did the autopsy, he had lorazepam, which is basically like Xanax.
It's antidepressant, right?
No, it's an anti-anxiety medication.
Anxiety, that's right, yeah.
And then he had buprenorphine, which is used as an opiate antagonist or blocker to keep people away from opiate abuse issues. And then he had an anesthetic dose of ketamine in him. So first of all, when you're on a dissociative anesthetic, even in a recreational sense, which I don't advocate for, you probably should stay away from water because it paralyzes your body. And so the thing is that he probably went into an anesthetic state where he completely went out in a blackout and he drowned, God. It's a very unfortunate situation. And I tell people, and listen, this is why I don't advocate for at-home ketamine therapy either, okay? And there's a lot of companies out there that are doing it, and that's fine. I could have got into it and made tons of money. I chose not to because our client safety is our number one priority.
Amen.
And so the thing is that We need to make sure that we're really responsible about this, especially in the pre-infancy of an industry like this, because I can give you a million positive ketamine stories about how it's healing veterans and getting people off heroin and things like that. But that's not what makes the headlines.
Correct.
It's the unfortunate situation where somebody takes an anesthetic dose recreationally in a hot tub and drowns.
Yeah. I mean, there's just an old saying, right? Anything to excess ain't good. That was sad. I just wanted to clear that up real quick, folks, because that was national news, and let's use this as a reason to start bad mouthing ketamine, which is not a good thing. The actual experience itself. Let's debrief that a little bit, because you and I talked out in Malibu, and I was like, I don't like the term disassociative, right? Because that's not what happened to me, which was perfect. But because I treat any sort of medicine work like a combat mission. I got mission objectives. I have intentions. I contingency plan. I have questions all ready to go for the medicine. So mouth guard in, chin strap on. It's not a hey, let's just do this for shits and grins and see how it goes. But the disassociative aspect of that scared me a little bit. But that's not what happened to me. And maybe it's because what does the term disassociative mean? Because maybe I'm a political science major from South Jersey. When you tell somebody it's like a disassociative, somebody like me is like, dude, I want to be me still, which I was. But what does disassociative mean?
So the best way I can describe it is when you get into a disassociated state, the mind separates from the body. And the thing is that I actually believe that this is one of the reasons why ketamine is such a therapeutic medicine. There's a ton of doctors in this country that are in the ketamine space, and they're like, disassociating doesn't matter and it's not important. And I am actually on the other end of the spectrum with that. And so is the doctor that runs our facility as well. Okay. When we get into a disassociated state, the mind separates from the body and it removes the active blocks that are holding past repressed traumatic experiences.
Well, and the fight or flight.
100%.
It'll give it a little bit of a break.
Yeah. And so, like, for instance, we had a guy who we treated, and he, had just sold a company for hundreds of millions of dollars, should have been living his best life, and he had an anxiety attack every day for like 2 years straight. And he couldn't figure out what was going on with him. During his second treatment, he went into a disassociated state, and he went back to when he was 7 years old, and he got bit by a dog. And then after he got bit by the dog, his dad spanked him. The dad was probably freaking out, trying to get him to stop crying or something like that. But the thing is that he came out of that experience and he's like, it's so weird. He goes, I don't even really remember it happening. He's like, it's barely even a memory that I have. And he goes, but it must have really been bothering me all of these years. And then after that treatment, he stopped having anxiety attacks.
No kidding.
And so it's like a lot of times, and especially being men, we stuff things, we repress it.
Compartmentalize.
100%. Don't show any emotions. We're men. Keep going. Keep moving forward. And like we stuff things in our subconscious throughout the years that we don't even realize we're doing with. And then all of a sudden, years down the road, we have anxiety and depression and we're suffering
heart issues.
100%. And so it's like, when we get into these disassociated states, we actually go back and process a lot of these things that we are compartmentalize, like you were talking about.
I love that, man. The ibogaine, the ketamine, any of the medicine work that I've done, I've been able to use your point to, maybe that's what it was, man. I didn't study for my SATs, disassociative. I wasn't in my trauma. I was able to observe it from a different point of view. I remember on my ibogaine, it was like I was sitting next to God and in a setting like this, and he was like, "Hey, do you remember that? Now let's take a look at that, or let's unpack that." And it was so cool, because a lot of people, I think, fear some of this healing work because they don't want to relive some traumas, or because there was things that happened to me as a child, some sexual issues. I'm like, before I did ibogaine for the first time, I'm like, man, I'm not looking forward to any of that type of stuff. And it was minuscule. And the part that it was, God was kind of like, that was not your fault, man. And give that to me. I got it. And we went on to the next thing. So things that I was so worried about weren't that big of an issue because I wasn't in it. I was observing it.
Yeah.
And I was observing it with today's eyes. You know, looking at this young little towhead kid on the Jersey Shore, and I was able to be outside of the trauma, not in it. So talk us through, since it's a Schedule 3, right?
Yeah.
Can like police officers, first responders, are they allowed to do ketamine?
Yeah. So like the amazing thing about ketamine is it is federally legal. It is FDA approved. And so even though we're using it off label, 1 in 5 medications out on the market are being used off label for something.
Correct.
And so,
Ozempic.
Yeah,
it's the number one off, let's go here.
For sure. But no, so we have treated active law enforcement, active military, our firefighters, everybody. And it's like, if you had to take a drug test for work and they found this in your system, it is prescribed by a doctor and is federally legal.
Yeah. So anybody who comes to your clinic, they talk to the doc, and it's a physical old paper script type of thing. It's a prescription. So it's 100% legal.
Yeah.
Does it even, are there drug tests for ketamine?
Yeah. So believe it or not, ketamine comes up for PCP. And
I didn't know that.
And the reason is because, so PCP was actually an anesthetic. Okay, it was dissociative anesthetic, and they used to use it pre-ketamine. And the thing is that, you've heard the stories where people become very combative and have these, crazy experiences on PCP. Yeah. And so what they did,
like Rodney King was on, or, I think Rodney King back in strength and
that was a big incident. They tweaked some molecules and made it different than PCP, which made it milder. And so ketamine is actually a PCP derivative.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, important safety tip, folks. Make sure you have your prescription for your ketamine, especially if you're drug test. So your clinic is where again?
So we're in Bonita Springs, Florida.
Bonita Springs.
Yeah, it's right in between Fort Myers and Naples, Florida.
Okay. You guys going to expand, grow? How's business? Especially as it's more in the news and more people want to hear. How are things in the business?
So we're doing very well, and the thing is that we do want to expand, and we've had opportunities to do so, but we didn't move forward with them at that time, just because we want to make sure that we do this properly with the right people and the right team.
Amen.
And listen, intention is everything. One of the reasons that we do good work and we're good at what we do is because we work with a team of people that is in this with a pure heart and really are a bunch of empaths that want people to help people heal.
Well, we need this in the healing space too, man, because I'm glad you pointed out a couple times, like, hey, don't see if they're saying this, don't do this or don't do that. I prefer people who lead with their heart and their truth and not necessarily their pocketbook.
When we started the company, I sat down and I said, listen, as long as we put helping the next person before anything else,
amen,
we will be good at this.
I call this the world's greatest Ponzi scheme, man. You heal and you want to put the ladder down and get the next person on board for healing. Talk us through what's Warriors of Consciousness.
So the Warriors of Consciousness is actually a nonprofit organization that Christina and I started. And the reason that we did this is because during some of my psychedelic experiences, I went down to oneness. I became one with everyone and everything. I became one with God. I realized that we're all the droplets of water in the ocean of consciousness.
Amen.
And that, basically we put ourselves to sleep to experience the experience of life.
Nothing but cosmic space dust that just came together in a mysteriously perfect formation.
Yeah, but exactly, brother. But, if separation's an illusion and we're really all a part of the same thing, that everybody needs access to this. The guy holding up a sign on the side of the road that's looking for his next meal needs access to mental health treatment just as much as the person that can afford the treatments.
Correct.
And it was breaking our hearts to have to keep turning people away. So we started the Warriors of Consciousness, which actually does put people through ketamine therapy that can't afford the treatments. We haven't really got very many donations, but Christina and I have put about 90 people through treatments for free so far.
Oh, wow. Amen. God bless you guys. Doing the same thing with our foundation too. It's a tough environment. There's so much, I trade the markets, and there's kind of a lot of gaslighting going on in this election year about how great the economy is and everything's great. And if it isn't, it's just for you. You're the exception, not the rule. I'm like, what? So I hear you. So is there a website for the nonprofit or?
Yeah. So our website is WOCFUND.org. And, listen, like it's not just a nonprofit. It's like what you're doing, man. Like it's a movement. And like
Amen.
We're putting an amazing advisory board full of people together. We just brought on a gentleman who was a DEA officer that actually used to run special task force to arrest people for psychedelics.
Wow.
Okay. And his name is Ed Burke, and Ed just came on and he actually healed at My Self Wellness through psychedelic therapy.
Amen.
And so now he's going public with his story and being like, listen, I used to arrest people for this and now it saved my life. And so we have a couple great Marines. We got an Air Force gentleman, and we also have Ed, who's our DEA agent.
Wow. To see people who once were fighting against us on the other side of the fence is just, it's insane. Maybe regular, quote, Americans can see something like that and say, well, if this guy, that's why, I me, man, I don't think veterans are anybody special or NHL players or anything like that. But if for whatever reason a regular American, quote, looks up to us, maybe we can help change that narrative. I went to Mexico with, Marcus Luttrell from Lone Survivor and NFL player suffering from horrific CTE. And man, it is a movement. It really is. And I think 2024 is I think this is our year. I was 1,000% convinced that, and I don't want to speak negative, but the FDA has given us a date, right? August 11th, MDMA ruling. But there was a report a couple weeks ago that came out from ICER, which is like an independent insurance. We counsel the insurance industry on what drugs to cover and stuff like that. So they had a pretty intense red team against Rick Doblin and MAPS and some of the trials and stuff like that about, whether or not they injected spirituality or all sorts of stuff. So I'm hoping that this summer, Uncle Sam says, all right, boom. What do you think is going to be MDMA? Would it be Schedule 3, same as ketamine? What's your thoughts on MDMA legalization?
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I definitely think they'll probably put it on Schedule 3, or even maybe Schedule 2.
Okay.
But Schedule 1 just basically means that there's no medicinal.
You're a felon. I mean, you're just, yeah.
There's no medicinal properties. And listen, that's like what happened with Nixon was he made all of the hallucinogens Schedule 1.
Correct.
And so, it's like if the efficacy is there, about the MAP studies they did. Basically, like over 2 out of 3 people who were diagnosed with the worst non-treatable PTSD, like the worst forms of it, were basically cured from it.
It's insane.
It's insane. So like, there's no doubt that the efficacy is there. And listen, we will work with MDMA at My Self Wellness too. Listen, like we do ketamine now because we have legal access to it, but we want to use all of the compounds. And it's a very different kind of medicine. Ketamine is, you can do lower doses, which will treat the symptoms. You can do the deeper dives, which we prefer because it gets to the root issues. Mm-hmm. But then for MDMA, that's a very heart-opening compound that's going to not only, be able to help people open up and process and do talk therapy with somebody and speak about things they probably wouldn't be comfortable speaking about, but it also, it pulls you out of this, I have to be like, listen, like, like you're an alpha man, I'm an alpha male, but like it opens your heart and it gives you this overwhelmingly loving feeling for everybody. And it teaches you how to like utilize that energy in a very like non-toxic way.
Amen. And the feeling that it gives you is technically supposed to be our default state, right? Like you said a couple of minutes ago, ego, separation. That's our defense mechanism. Anytime I've done medicine work, whatever word you want to choose, I choose to use the word God, but whatever I've done medicine work, whatever that thing is, and there is a thing, it's almost told me every time or allowed me to feel this is supposed to be your natural state, man, like happy and love, not hate, war, poverty, racism, whatever else. It's like, it's not that God can be sad, but the one time on Ibogaine just kind of shrugged at me like, I was looking at the planet and he kind of looked at me like, what are y'all doing?
Yeah.
So the more people that can heal, I tell people all the time, I think there's two charts. Here's the chart of the United States and the world. We're just downhill, afterburners on fire. And here's the rise of people wanting to heal.
Yeah.
Every time you get on an airliner, what's the flight attendant say? If we lose pressurization, put the mask on yourself first, because you ain't going to be good to anybody else if you're not good. So if we can get more people healed, this thing, it really is a movement, to your point.
It's the ripple effect. It's an energetic attraction. Like, listen, we lead by example. And as I believe that we are the manifestors of reality and the co-creators of existence. Yeah. And my outer world is a direct reflection of my inner world. So this is why they say the only way out is in. And, it's an inside job.
Yeah.
And, and I don't just believe in my heart. I 100% know that psychedelic medicines are actually going to be the catalyst that aims humanity in a different direction. And it's the catalyst that we need, because I don't think that anything else is accomplishing what these medicines are doing.
Correct.
And I don't think that anything else is bringing people to a heart-centered place.
Correct.
Listen, I tell people we're like an onion. And we have all of these layers, and all of these layers, like especially the outer ones, it's this jaded part of us that's, gone through these traumas in society and this things that have been projected onto us. And when you do psychedelic medicines, it starts peeling the layers of the onion away until we get to the core of who we truly are. And I believe the answer to that question is love. We all are.
Correct.
We just got to get back to it.
Yeah. When I was... one of my medicine experiences, just on my knees, begging for forgiveness for just all the crap. And God forgave me. And then he just kind of said to me, he's like, I don't make imperfect things. Everything, all of us underneath all the crap, the 5 decades of crap that had built up over me, psychedelics knock that down, can dissolve and destroy the ego and give you a fresh piece of paper. To your point, what's the golden window for ketamine? I know Ibogaine out here like at 4 weeks and then it backs in. What's the neuroplasticity or like the golden window for ketamine?
So
a couple days, a week.
So basically, it's usually like a 72-hour window. It can last.
3 days? Okay.
It can last even longer than that. So like a week at a time and stuff like that. But and that's why we really try to get the 2 treatments a week in over a 3-week period.
Makes sense.
But the crazy thing is that listen, it's a night and day scenario. We have people that come in that have been suffering for 30, 40, 50 years straight. No psychiatry, talk therapy, medications have ever worked for them. And I look at them and I'm like, in 3 weeks, you can have a completely different life. And they're just like, yeah, right. Like, this sounds way too good to be true. And then all of a sudden, they go through their treatments and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
I love my life again. I feel amazing. We had a psychiatrist who's well respected that we actually treated. And he processed over 50 years worth of trauma during his first 2 treatments.
Oh my gosh.
And he's just like, you've reinvented psychiatry. I can't believe this. And it's because
I'll take credit for that. Yeah, man.
And we're our own healers. We really are, man. And listen, and that's another message for everybody out there. If you're, looking to go on a healing journey and you meet somebody that's like, I'm a healer and I'm going to heal you, run. Because the truth is that you just need somebody that has done a lot of work themselves and that can hold space and hold that frequency of love for you to be there. And then you kind of match that vibrational frequency and you rise together. And, so like, that's another thing. What we do differently at Myself Wellness is that there's no we know what's going to fix you. I know how to heal you. It's that we've embarked on our own healing journeys as well. And we're going to hold space in a very loving way for you and hold your hand through the process of your healing journey. Share what's worked for us in our own individual healing journeys.
Correct.
And if it sounds like something that you might want to do, well, then we're there to support you.
Man, throughout my years of medicine work, there's been a couple takeaways for me. And one of them that you alluded to is you are the medicine.
Yeah.
You absolutely are the medicine. And the only way through it is through it. You're the medicine. And to your point, nobody can heal you. The word healer is somebody who shares their lessons learned, says, hey, this was my path. If it resonates with you, great. If not, or hey, this is my experience on this medicine, but nobody can heal you. I had a tough, what was it, 22 to 23, man, because, with the foundation, I'm trying to help veterans, guys and gals who just really bad trauma type of thing. And to me, in some cases, I didn't feel like they were healed or whatever. And I carried all of that. Then I went down to Costa Rica, man, and in an Iboga journey, God came to me. He's like, appreciate the effort, son, keep up the good work, but you can't heal anybody.
No.
It's my job and their job.
Yeah.
You can walk them up to the door. You can walk along the path with them, but they gotta, at that door, it's me and them. So keep up the good work. But yeah, so it's funny, I see the Shambros online or the whatevers, or I know that as soon as I hear the words I know, I'm like, you click. I'm like, it was a Ram Dass saying, the higher I go, the more I see, the less I know. And the less I know, the more I'm free. Yeah. The more medicine work that I do, the more I recognize I don't know anything. Yeah. I'll share my experiences. If they resonate with you, great. I'll share my goods, my bads, my others. But man, anybody who's telling you that they know the way or this is how you should heal or anything like that, yeah, run as far away from those people as you can.
Well, Ram Dass said, he's like, listen, we're just here to walk each other home. Yeah. And all I can do is work on me.
Correct.
And all you can do is work on you. And so the thing is like the best healers are the people that are constantly working and healing themselves.
Amen.
And like the thing is that there's nobody that's completely healed. There's no healing destination.
Yeah, correct.
It's the healing journey. Yeah, and so it's like, even though I was in a great place a year ago, I'm in a much better place today.
Exactly.
It's an evolution, man. Yeah. And the way that we do this is that we're just here to show love and support for one another, and then keep on continuously working on ourselves, because that's it. We lead by example, and it's not even about leading. It's just about like us showing up and embodying that positive, loving energy and transmuting that onto other people.
It's interesting, man, because you're right. If you took responsibility for your healing and you did it, or to whatever extent you could, the world would be a much better place.
Yeah.
Trying to do other people's work. God, who was it? Oh, St. Louis. It was the St. Louis Rams. That's how old I am. I was doing consulting when Jeff Fisher was the coach in St. Louis. Did a day with the team. And I remember walking through some of the rooms, and up on the whiteboards, it said, do your, and the your was massively, do your fucking job. And I kind of knew what it meant, but I still asked the coach. He's like, hey, man, if everybody on this team does their job, we win. When you try to do somebody else's job, or you're self-critical or whatever, if you're not taking responsibility for this is my job, we're going to lose. So if everybody in this world took a little bit of time to put the mask on themselves and heal first, I think the world would be a better place. Real quick, let's talk. We go to your place in Bonita Springs. Talk us through. I walk in the door the first time through. I'm done with treatment, just so people can get a nice visual of what the process entails.
Yeah. So basically, and
I love the name of the place, Myself,
because it all starts with you.
Myself Wellness.
100%.
Yeah.
And so the thing is like when we started our company, the first thing I sat down and talked with everybody about was, if I was going to go on a journey, I would not want to do it in a doctor's office. That sounds horrible.
Yeah. Wax paper examining table, National Geographic from the 80s.
You got it, right? So Christina is amazing, and she did a great job at decorating the place and making it very aesthetically pleasing. It's more of like a med spa kind of feel.
So real quick, not to interrupt, but in all my research into psychedelics, in the past where, the LSD experiments or whatever, like, oh, people freak. I'm like, you had them in a white room in like lab coats, like strapped to a bed type of thing. Of course, people are going to freak the hell out. Set and setting is a thing.
Yes.
So if you're in the wrong setting, it's going to be an absolute nightmare.
100%.
And your mindset's like, okay, there's dudes in lab coats and beakers and yeah. So it's got to be a nice, earthy feel.
You got it, man. There's like crystals and meditation music playing, and there's diffusers going off in the rooms. The actual treatment rooms have very comfortable recliner style chairs in them. And the thing about our clinic too is that every single person that works on our team has done the treatments.
Amen.
Everybody's done the medicine. Everybody's well-versed in other psychedelic compounds. Dr. Ferber's first LSD experience was in 1957 in a clinical study. So
No way. So he was one of those guys.
Yeah, 100%. But so it's like, listen, like when you have somebody holding space for you, they should do the medicine.
They have to.
They have to do the medicine.
I don't get how when MDMA is legal, let's be positive, that somebody who's doing some talk therapy with them isn't experienced in the mess. I just don't, whatever. I can't comprehend it, man.
Listen, I see these online ads where it's like, we'll teach you how to be a psychedelic, therapist in 3 weeks or whatever. And I'm just like, okay, like we're in trouble.
Yeah.
And listen, it's like, I'm not like shooting shade towards people that want to get into that industry and are very passionate about helping people. But even when they were doing LSD clinical studies, years and years and years ago, the first thing that they told the psychiatrist was, take the medicine.
Yeah.
Take the medicine, because how are you going to integrate somebody properly if you can't do it from an experiential standpoint?
Well, I love a lot of those people didn't need to be told that. They're like, it was common sense. I'm not going to be telling anybody how to do this. I mean, Nicole, our director of medicine operations, my wife, Susie, we don't go to any retreat center. We don't do any medicine until we do it first, go to the place, put eyes on. I wouldn't ask or tell anybody to do anything I wouldn't do or haven't done.
Yeah.
Okay. So they come into your place, and how's it go?
So basically, like I was saying about the atmosphere, and, we have, it feels like a med spa, basically. And then another thing that we have at our clinic also is we have a beautiful integration room. We built our company on the what not to do's. And so like when we started, I took a bunch of people I knew that had gone through ketamine therapy and asked them what they didn't like about their experiences.
Brilliant.
Okay. One thing was that they were still disoriented from the medication, and they were being ushered into Ubers or cars immediately, which can be very traumatic in itself for people because they don't feel safe.
Yeah.
And your mind is being reprogrammed, and you feel this, crazy way coming out of this.
Correct.
And so we have beautiful, comfortable couches for people to go meditate. We have a meditation corner. People go and journal and relax and listen to meditation music. We give people juice and stuff like that. And so it's like nobody's rushed out. Yeah. And basically you come in, you would meet with Dr. Ferber for that approval. You do a medical history. And then when you do your first treatment, you get in that recliner style chair. We do some pre-integration. One of our nurses will go in and help you set an intention and really kind of just, help you breathe into this relaxed state. We tell people, meditate for a few minutes. And then you get, a blanket for comfort, eye mask, because this is a chemically induced meditation at the deepest level possible. And, we give people earmuffs to listen to healing frequencies or meditation music. And it's basically like we tell people, forget about everything that's happening out there outside of this building. Yeah. This is your time to go deep within. Now. Be
There's
here
only
now. Yeah, 100%, brother. And so, this is honestly, this is how real healing is supposed to happen, in my personal opinion.
Well, it works for you.
Yes.
And it sounds like thousands and thousands of other people that you have helped heal. To be clear, and just to kind of re-debrief my experience, it was a psychedelic. It was an experience. How? What's the average time frame? 45 minutes to an hour ish. Does it depend on the delivery vehicle, so to speak?
Yeah. So I mean, with an intramuscular, we do about 98 or 99% intramuscular at our facility. Okay. We offer IV ketamine for 2. We're never going to pigeonhole people and say you have to do it our way. We encourage people to embark on it this way, just because I'll tell you this: an intramuscular shot of ketamine and IV ketamine is apples and oranges.
2 different things.
No, intramuscular shot. I have people that have sat with 5-MeO multiple times, and they'll come and do an intramuscular shot of ketamine, and they're like, that was the most profound psychedelic experience I've ever had.
Oh my God,
man. No, 100%. And so it's like, listen, like, this has been my life for a number of years. And I have friends that are, shamans or healers or people that are medicine workers that live all over the world. And a lot of them are actually very against synthetic medicines like ketamine. And then they trust me and they trust my story and they trust the way that we do things. And they're like, I think I want to do this. And they'll come. And like, I have one of my other friends, she sat in Aya ceremony over 40 times and actually has, helped administer medicine for people. And she's in the work. Yeah. And she came out of her second ketamine treatment and she was just like, I just processed things that I've never processed before. And she goes, but one of the reasons that I processed it is because I felt so safe here. She's a very beautiful woman. She says she's been in ceremony before and like creepy things might have kind of happened where people were trying to be a little bit, and that does happen. Yeah. And the thing is that going to somewhere that you know that you're safe so you can completely surrender to the experience. Correct. Because that's what the key is. Let go is the way. Surrender to the experience. Yeah. Let the medicine take you where you need to go. Yeah. And that's where the real magic starts to happen.
Yeah. So, and that's a big thing in the medicine work is being able to surrender, to trust. Yeah. As a former Navy fighter pilot, it doesn't get any more. I'm in control. I have to be in control. And that was one of the biggest things I had to learn in the medicine work, was being able to let Jesus take the wheel, so to speak. And that's where a lot of the healing took place. That's awesome, man. It sounds like a beautiful clinic, a beautiful setting. I want to get over there. Yeah. I want to check it out. Yeah. We got a big veteran population here in Florida, East Coast, West Coast, Panhandle, in the center. And I love what you and Christina are doing for our heroes, our veterans, our first responders, and their family members, because their family members serve too. And I look forward to working with you, man. And as my first in-studio guest, man, I'm going to give you our No Fallen Heroes Foundation hat.
Thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. Beautiful.
Our military challenge coin, man. So we just got these. So this is, break the plastic thing. So on the front is our psychedelic fighter pilot. That's our helmet.
That's so cool, man.
And then all my stuff on the back, the Top Gun and the tail hook and our foundation and stuff like that.
Amazing, man.
So Warriors of Consciousness, WOCFund.
Yeah, .org. And then My Self Wellness is myselfwellness.com.
Anybody has any questions, can they reach out to you directly?
100%. This is like, listen, I'm very mission driven. This is my purpose. My purpose is to be of service. And the thing is that I'm actually purely convinced that everything that I went through in my life was divinely orchestrated to lead me up to this moment. So I got pulled out of the flames that I was once in, and now I get to go back in and help pull other people out.
Man, the people that have known the greatest healing have known the greatest suffering, right? And I almost think that's a little why we were put through it, right? My brother, Mark Keller, Slider, Tomcat guy, some pretty significant combat trauma, actually got to the point in his medicine work where he says, I'm thankful for my suffering.
So I am very grateful for all of the suffering that I went through. My darkest days made me the man that I am today. And through suffering comes awakening. Yeah. So I believe it was the synchronistic flow of the evolution of everything. And, I had to go through what I went through to get to where I'm at.
I love it. Awesome, brother. Thanks for coming in, man. Thanks. I appreciate it. My Self Wellness, Bonita Springs, go check it out, and then support their foundation, folks. Just like the No Fallen Heroes Foundation, every dime and literally every penny goes to help it out. I know Charles, me, we don't need the money. He and his bride funded their foundation. Me and my bride funded ours, but we can't do it alone. We need your help just to be able to scale these treatments, these medicines, and put the ladder down and help everybody. So thanks for coming, my brother. I appreciate it.
And thank you for having me, and thank you for your service, in all of the ways that you've served. And, listen, thank you for your transparency, because like what you were saying earlier, it is our military veterans and it is our, athletes and all of these people where, listen, I have a substance abuse history and some people relate to that, but the majority of the general public need to hear stories like this, because that's really what's going to propel this thing.
I think that's great, man. We got a buffet, right? We got people substance abuse, we got vets, we got athletes. So it's a wide swath of life. When, we were out in psychedelic science out in Denver, I never thought I'd be in a room with a Republican governor, a Democrat governor, some movie stars, some athletes, some veterans, and a bunch of hippies.
Yeah.
all aligned to the same mission of healing. And that's pretty cool. Put that on your calendar for next year, Psychedelic Science 2025 in Denver, because that was a blast. So Charles, thanks for coming, my brother. Everybody, make sure you check out My Self Wellness and Warriors of Consciousness. See if you can throw a couple shekels to help support their mission as well. All right, I'm out. Have a great rest of your day. Happy hunting. Make sure you're hedged, especially in this market. I know I am. Fights on, namaste, and basi, Whiz out.